Imagine checking whether an item might already exist in a set of billions without ever storing a single one of those items. That is the promise of a Bloom filter. Say you are running a web browser, and before loading every page you want to check it against a block list of 10 million known malicious sites. Storing all 10 million full web addresses locally would eat hundreds of megabytes, and searching through them one by one would be slow. A Bloom filter solves this by shrinking that entire block list down to a tiny fixed-size structure, often just a few megabits, regardless of how many addresses it represents. Ask it whether an address is on the list, and it gives you one of two answers. Definitely not on the list, which is always completely true, or possibly on the list, which is usually true but occasionally wrong. That single guarantee that a definite no is never a lie is what makes this structure useful everywhere from browsers to databases. Underneath, a Bloom filter is nothing more than an array of M bits, all initialized to 0, sitting in memory. There is no list of addresses, no hash table of keys and values, and no pointers back to the original data. That is the entire structure. Because a bit can only be 0 or 1, the array can represent an enormous number of possible elements while costing almost nothing to store. Filter size for 10 million items might use only 10 megabits, roughly 1 bit per item, compared to the tens of bytes each full web address would otherwise require. The trade-off for that tiny footprint is that once something is added, it can never be individually removed. Flipping a bit back to 0 would erase information shared with other items that happen to map to the same position, so a standard Bloom filter only ever grows. Adding an item to the filter uses several independent hash functions, typically somewhere between 3 and 10, each producing a different position inside the bit array. To insert an element, you run it through every one of those hash functions and set the bit at each resulting position to 1. If a bit is already 1 because some earlier item landed on the same spot, nothing changes, you simply move on. Insertion never touches the original item again after this step, and it never grows the array no matter how many elements you add. A filter built for 100 items and a filter built for 100 million items take up exactly the same amount of memory, as long as they were sized correctly up front. The only real cost of an insert is computing a handful of hash values, which takes constant time regardless of how full the filter becomes. Checking whether an item might be in the set runs the exact same hash functions used during insertion, producing the same set of positions for that item every time. The filter then looks at the bits stored at each of those positions. If even one of those bits is still 0, the answer is immediate insert. This item was never inserted, because insertion always sets every one of its bits to 1 and nothing ever clears a bit afterward. If every single bit at those positions happens to be 1, the filter reports that the item is possibly present. That result might be correct if the item truly was inserted, or it might be a coincidence if unrelated items happen to set all of the same positions between them. The filter has no way to tell those two cases apart, which is exactly why it only ever promises maybe, never a guaranteed yes. This is the core guarantee that makes Bloom filters trustworthy despite being probabilistic. False negative, wrongly telling you an item is absent when it was actually inserted, is mathematically impossible because every bit an insert set stays set forever, so real members bits are always found on. False positive, wrongly telling you an item might be present when it never was, is entirely possible because 2 or 3 unrelated items can, by chance, cover exactly the same bit positions between them and make an absent item look like a match. As more items get inserted, the array fills up with more and more ones, and the odds of one of these accidental collisions rises. So the honest way to describe a Bloom filter is that a no is always the truth, and a maybe is a calculated bet, weighted by how full the array has become. That bet has a name, the false positive rate, and it is governed by a simple relationship between 3 numbers: the size of the bit array, the number of items you plan to insert, and the number of hash functions you use. Cramming more items into a fixed size array raises the fraction of bits set to 1, which raises the odds that some absent item accidentally matches on all of its positions. The fix is straightforward: allocate more bits per item you expect to store. Going from roughly 5 bits per item to 10 bits per item can drop the false positive rate from around 3% down to under 1/10 of 1%. While still using a fraction of the memory a full lookup table would need. Engineers pick this ratio up front, based on how many items they expect and how much accidental risk their application can tolerate. The number of hash functions matters just as much as the array size, and there is a mathematical sweet spot. Use too few hash functions and each item only claims a handful of bits, so the filter fails to spread items out and false positives climb faster than they need to. Use too many hash functions and every insert sets so many bits that the array saturates with ones almost immediately, which also drives false positives up. The optimal count works out to roughly 0.7 times the ratio of array bits to expected items, a formula derived directly from the same probability model that produces the false positive rate. Most production Bloom filters land somewhere between 5 and 8 hash functions, tuned for their expected size, and that single choice can be the difference between a filter that performs beautifully and one that behaves almost randomly. Bloom filters are already running underneath tools you use every day. Web browsers keep a compact filter of no malicious web addresses on your device, so most page loads get an instant definite no, and only the rare possible match triggers a slower check against the real list. Databases like Cassandra and RocksDB attach a small Bloom filter to every file on disk, so a lookup for a key that does not exist there can be rejected in memory, skipping an expensive disk read entirely. Content delivery networks use the same trick to catch one-time requests, checking a filter before caching a file so they never waste cache space on something that will likely never be requested again. In every one of these cases, the appeal is the same. A small, constant amount of memory turns an expensive definite check into a cheap probable one, and that certainty about no is what makes the trade-off worth it. Thanks for watching.